is going to make the Hall of Fame. And Joy and Ryan, very sad. People mocking me at the company. But the PFF came out today, and I've got my squabbles and disagreements with Pro Football Focus. But they came out with a quarterback tier thing today, and they had like 10 tiers. It was nonsense. But the three that were interesting at the top were Tier A. These are the elite guys over the age of 30. Brady, Rodgers, Wilson, Stafford, Matt Ryan. And it wasn't a ranking, it's tiers, right? And then the shooting stars was Tier B. That's the best under the age of 30, and that's Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow, Lamar Jackson. All right. And then they had Tier C, which they called mixed bag, the most polarizing players, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, and Derek Carr. And I laughed at this. What exactly is polarizing about Derek Carr? Doesn't miss games, accurate, productive, and good enough to carry a tire fire into the playoffs. Haven't we always said that about Dak? He needs to be carried. He can't carry. That's not Derek Carr. By the way, that's not Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray carried Arizona to the playoffs. Derek Carr carried the Raiders to the playoffs. It's the Raiders. He will have his 6th coach in his 9th year. So it's time for another edition of Blind Resume to remind you how good Derek Carr is. So here I said, let's go to the last 3 years. With the Raiders, that's probably 3 different coaches. So in this period, the Raiders have been nothing but nonsense. Bad O-lines, GM fired, coach fired, Henry Ruggs disaster. It's been a mess. But I said, let's take the last 3 years of chaos for the Raiders. Derek Carr completes 69% of his throws, 2.5 to 1 touchdown interception ratio, and a passer rating at 98.5. So blind resume, we put somebody else on the other side. So he's got a better completion percentage, better touchdown interception ratio, and a much higher passer rating. Who would that quarterback be? All right, so I think Derek's better than Matt, but I think it's close. So that doesn't shock you, right? All right, let's do it again. Let's do it one more time. Under total chaos, by the way, the franchise moved in 3 years. The Gruden mess, Henry Ruggs situation, fire the GM. So he's got a higher completion percentage, pretty much even TD to interception, better passer rating. Who is this guy? This is Kyler Murray. He's pretty good. All right. Oh, okay. Let's do it again one more time. Oh, he's got a higher completion percentage than this guy. This guy's thrown for more touchdown passes and has a slightly higher passer rating. So this guy's like a quarter of a grade better than him, but it's pretty darn close. Who is this guy? Oh, that's interesting. The guy just won the Super Bowl. Okay. All right. Just who this year had no chaos, great players, great coaches. All right. I mean, folks, at some point, the slander against Derek Carr. I love how Pro Football Focus. Then there's the controversial group. What's controversial? Dak, you could argue, has been carried, and many people think he is what are they? It's a tractor trailer thing. But Kyler and Derek Carr have carried some dysfunction. There's no controversy about Kyler Murray and Derek Carr. They are capable of getting to the playoffs with less than ideal situations and carrying some people. Dak, we can argue about that. Dak falls into that. Kirk Cousins, I think, falls into that. Dak, Kirk Cousins. Baker Mayfield could fall into that. Jimmy Garoppolo could fall into that. Kyler Murray and Derek Carr don't fall into controversial. Accurate, productive playmakers, good enough to carry like non-winning cultures historically, and in Derek Carr's situation, a mess into the playoffs, into the AFC playoffs, not the NFC, the stronger conference, the AFC. Hall of Fame, get ready. Canton speech. It's happening. Not sure when, but it is. Eddie House played in the NBA for over a decade.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
NFL officials began direct meetings with Deshaun Watson yesterday. So this is a new development as the league looks to determine whether he violated the personal conduct policy, and if so, what discipline should be imposed. He is facing 22 civil lawsuits from women who have accused him of inappropriate sexual conduct during massage sessions. So 2 grand juries in Texas have denied to indict him on criminal charges, and he has denied all wrongdoing. But as we know, when it comes to the league, you do not have to be indicted. You do not have to be prosecuted. You do not have to go to jail. You don't even have to be arrested in order for the league to suspend you. They can just determine that you violated the personal conduct policy, and then they can suspend you. And that is up to the commissioner, obviously. They do have panels and such, but it is not that's the process of it. The commissioner is going to decide how many games he should get. Now, this is an unprecedented number of accusers in this particular situation. Obviously, the main one that everyone is going to pull up is Ben Roethlisberger in 2010. He got 4 games. Now,
this feels far more egregious because of the number.
Correct. Well, yes, it is. It's incomparable when you talk about the number. But he got 4 games in 2010. Now, if you're looking at some of the other suspensions, obviously Ray Rice was indefinitely. Greg Hardy got 4 games. Ezekiel Elliott got 6 games in 2017. That's probably a more recent comparison. Kareem Hunt got 8 games in 2019. My assumption is that it will be around 8 games.
That's exactly what I think. I think, and I've thought about this. Like, listen, certain people are not going to be happy if you unless you said the whole season.
Correct.
But also, commissioners have that balance of I work for the owners. I want to be reasonable but very punitive. There's a lot of things weighing here.
Yes.
I always start with 8. I start with 8. It feels like 8 games feels, again, what's appropriate. It feels more reasonably appropriate. Half the season, you're out.
Well, Kareem Hunt is the most recent that I'm looking at right now, and he who was involved in this type of misconduct.
Right.
Obviously, not the same exact situation, but he got 8 games in 2019. So again, I would go to 8 games as well. Once again, I don't think that this should be in the commissioner's hands. I've always felt that it should be a rotating set of diverse people that changes every year. The players and the owners and coaches can vote on who these people are.
Commissioners get in trouble, Joey.
Something similar to, I feel like we have this jury. Something like that, but with qualified, diverse people that are voted on so that you pass the power on to these people. Maybe they serve for 2 years and then another group comes in, but it shouldn't be all on the commissioner to make these type of determinations, in my opinion. Yeah, no,
I think commissioners in my life get into trouble when they have too much power in crisis situations, and there should be multiple voices. So, I've never understood. If I was a commissioner, I would want so many people giving me input on this.
Well, I don't even think it's just on the commissioner. I would imagine that the coaches and players and owners would want this as well, because then you actually have conversation and it feels as close to quote unquote fair as you're going to get in our society. I mean, we have this in place already. It's not a perfect system, obviously, but when you have a panel of people and you can select them as players, you can vote on who they are. They're qualified, they're diverse, there's women, minorities, have a diverse group of people from different backgrounds who can weigh in on situations like this and make a determination. To your point, no one's going to be happy with how this ends up going, and quite frankly, this is what the Browns signed up for, and Deshaun Watson, which is why they structured his contract this way. But I do think we were going to get it's looking like, and I want to get ahead of ourselves here, but as things start to develop and the cases start to progress, it looks like we might get an answer before the season starts on what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. So the NBA is in the final stretch of the season as the conference finals tipped off last night with the Heat win. But that hasn't stopped us from looking ahead to next season, where it looks like 5 of the league's 6 top salaries are no longer in this year's playoffs.
I saw this yesterday. Threw up in my mouth.
Well, let's take a look at this.
Oh, God.
So Steph Curry is making $48 million.
I can live with that.
This is for the 2022-23 season.
Yeah.
James Harden, $47.4, and obviously his contract is a point of conversation with the Sixers going into next year, which that could skyrocket. John Wall, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. John Wall's making $47.4, Russell Westbrook $47.1. LeBron should be making, whatever they could possibly pay him, but $44.5, and Kevin Durant as well is making $44.2 million. The other interesting thing about this list to me is that 3 of these players did not make the playoffs at all. One of them got swept in the first round. And, of course, James Harden was tragic in the second half in the playoffs this postseason. This is a rough list. This actually, look, I don't get really upset with what players make. I'm not running them that check, so it's not coming out of my pocket. It really doesn't make any difference to me personally how much people make. I'm a huge advocate for people making as much money as they can make at what it is that they do for a living. This is what basketball players do for a living. They play basketball. They want to make the most money. They can't play forever. We know all that. I do think, however, it feels like the NBA is making a bit of a shift now. It seems like we're kind of coming back, as we always do, big swings, and things are starting to correct now, where you're looking at the teams that are remaining in the postseason. Who do we have? Miami. We already know how they build teams.
Yeah.
Golden State. We already know how they build teams.
Yeah.
The Celtics. We obviously know how they build teams.
Yeah.
They've been in this process forever. And now Luka, another team that has drafted a young star, developed him, and put pieces around him. It's all good coaching.
Culture.
Deep